long. You don't have to mark it, but yeah, just you can still write down the correct answers for you, right? So you can follow along. Okay, so we have choose the letter that best completes the statement below. The triangle that would require only sine law to solve for x would be, right? Oh, I'm not screen sharing. Thank you. Thank you, Ethan. So here we go. The one that best completes is so you want a pair, right? You're thinking of a pair, and you kind of go through this, and this is a side angle side, right? That's not going to be it. This is a side side side. That's not going to be it. That you know that's cosine law. So you narrowed it down to these two. This is an angle, angle, angle. Can't solve no matter what. I need you to know that, right? You can't solve with either one of them. Like that's one that you can't do. Therefore, C is the one that's left. And you can also see that there's a pair. So this is sine law because you have your pair. Okay? So understanding picking the right one is important at this point. All right? And so that's 1 mark. That's what you would be getting 1 mark there. Then next, solve for the indicated side or angle, and we give 2 marks for each example. Let me focus a bit. It seems a little out of focus there. So you're looking at this, and you can tell that you have a pair. So you can use sine law for this. So sine of 61 over 15.9 is equal to, they give you everything you need, over side m. Okay, so you just cross multiply and divide. So it's 15.9 times sine of 43. Feel free to write this down. And m, in this case, if you cross multiply and divide, you get 12.40 or 12.4 centimeters. So you would get 2 marks there for that. This is not provincial exam marking. This is just me. I would say this is a 2-mark question. A provincial exam would probably give you 3, one being that you're picking the right law, right, to do this, but that would be considering you have to know everything, right, on the exam. So I think it's a bit more challenging. That's okay. 12.4 is fine. If it had been money, then you need to put that 0 for sure, but it's not, so 12.4 is fine. Here we have side, angle, side. We know we have to use cosine law. In particular, you're going to use, I'm going to do the math down here, okay? You're solving for a side, so it's r squared is equal to, you take the other two sides, you square them, minus 2 times those two again, and then it's cosine of 61, like that. R is going to be equal to square root of 33.639. R is going to be 5.80 kilometers. So you get 2 marks for that as well. At least write down the correct answer so you can try this again. What's happening here? All right. Next, we have side, side, side. I'm asking you to solve for this angle here in particular. So we're going to start our equation like this. Cosine of that angle, we know it's cosine law because of this. We're going to make sure that the side that's across this angle, which is 116, goes at the end here. Okay, and then we take the other two, square and add, and then divide it by 2 times 165 times 88. You figure out what that is. The top, if you plug that in, you get 21,513. The bottom gives you 29,040. And if you divide these two, you get 0.7408. And then last step would be T is cosine inverse of that, which is 42.2 degrees. Okay, 2 marks for that. So this page is out of 7. That's just if you care to follow along. You know already what you're going to get, right? Backside, this is all going to be recorded and posted, so you don't have to worry about. So now we have a word problem. They describe a situation. They give you a fully labeled diagram. Calculate the distance x. So they want this side here. You must swim to reach the boat. This is an angle, side angle. This is the hidden pair. I don't know if you remember that from yesterday. This is the hidden pair. You can find this one. So we're going to find that angle by going 180 minus 38 minus 48. Okay? And that's going to give you 94 degrees, which is worth 1 mark. Just this step here is worth 1 mark. So now you know this is 94 degrees. Because you had the 2, you can find the third one, no problem. Giving you a pair, so you have to use sine law here. Sine of 94 over 500 is equal to, now you have to be careful which one you pick. If you pick sine of 38, you're actually finding this side, which is not the one you want. You want this side, so you got to use sine of 48 over x, like that. X is equal to, you cross multiply, divide. That's 500 times. So I need you to show work, okay? Don't just come up with your answers, right? You need to, it's like an essay. You can't just give me the concluding sentence, right? You got to show everything in between, right? And so when you type this in, you get 372.48 meters, okay? The breakdown here, it's out of 4. 1 mark for this, 1 mark for determining that it's sine law, and 1 mark for the work that goes with it, and another mark for the final answer. So this is more provincial style, and if it's a word problem, it's also a bit more challenging. All right, 4 marks. Last one. An air ambulance is flying from Thompson to Winnipeg, and then after traveling 400 kilometers, then it's rerouted to Brandon. Okay, that's the angle of change here. Calculate the angle of change if the plane is 486 kilometers from Brandon when it needs to change direction. So you can probably tell that this is a side-side-side scenario, right? So that's cosine law. So you want this angle here, you can call that A if you want. So cosine of A is going to be, no matter what, I put the one that's across from it, like here on the other side, and then I just take the other 2, square and add, and then it's 2 times 400. Get your formulas right, folks, right now. Some students multiply these. Up here, no, it's add, subtract, and at the denominator, it's multiplying. So make sure you have that figured out. You want to do these questions so that you know what to do, okay? The top, this gives you a negative number, which you were probably expecting anyways. And bigger numbers, yes, but we have a calculator, so we don't need to worry about that. I don't have room, so I'm going to do another line here. I normally do it right beside. That's negative 0.8656. To find A, you need to find the inverse of negative 0.8656. And you get 149.95. That's the final answer. So one mark for finding cosine law, another mark for doing the work, and 1 mark for correct final answer. So that's how this is done. Right? So write down the final answer so you can practice it. And then we'll go to our booklets, and I will give you one question that is going to be a bit more challenging. We're going to go to page 269. So this diagram is going to be somewhat tricky to make. So just follow as I'm doing that. So go to page 269. There should be a blank page there. You can ignore the boat on the side. There used to be a different example here. I just took it out. If you have a ruler, it might help, but just try your best. So this is the ground here. We're gonna have a leaning tower like this. And from the top of the tower, we're gonna draw a line to the ground. Oops. Like that. This is on page 269. You will be given the distance between the base of the tower. So we can write in a tower here, tower. There's an observer here at this point, looking up to the tower here. One piece of information this is going to give you is that the tower is leaning. Write this down on top, leaning, because it's the wording that I want you to pay attention. The tower is leaning 10 degrees off the vertical. I will use a different color to add information that the text would have given you. They're telling you that this angle right here is 153 degrees. And this is a summary of a problem. It's a longer word problem here, but this is the diagram that they would have provided you with. And they're asking for length of tower. What's the length of the tower? And B, distance between, this is between, okay, observer and top of tower. What is the distance between the observer and the top of the tower? Here, right now as it stands, right, you're obviously noticing that there's a triangle here, but we only know one side length of that triangle, but we don't really know any interior angles of this tower. Okay. The first piece of information is that the tower is leaning 10 degrees off the vertical. What is that? Well, a vertical line, right, goes up and down. That's what vertical. Horizontal, right? The sun sets in the horizon, right? Horizontal is a side-to-side line. Vertical goes up and down. So the vertical always makes a 90-degree with the ground. So let's draw a dashed line here, right? And we know that this is 90 degrees. This is the vertical. Okay? And we're told this is kind of like the Tower of Pisa, right? This tower is leaning 10 degrees off the vertical. So if you get to this line, it's another 10 degrees, in this case to the right, leaning off of it, like that. That's what this is saying. Okay, so they're actually giving you a lot more information than what you think. Because if you measure from the ground to the actual tower, right, how many degrees would we have there? It goes to 90 here, and then you have to add another 10. So that gives you 100 degrees, right? So this angle right here, angle is going to be 90 degrees plus the 10 that it's leaning off. So it's 100 degrees at this intersection here, okay, between these two arms. That's 100 degrees. That's very important for you to come up with, right? So I focused my attention here first to get the 100. Now I'm going to focus my attention over here. I noticed something else. Remember when there's a straight line and you cut it, right? If this is 153, this has to be whatever is left to get to 180. So this angle right here, I'm going to go 180 minus 153, and that's going to give me 27 degrees. Okay. So now I have that. So this would be worth 1 mark. This would be worth 1 mark, getting the 27 in there as well. And now it's so busy here that I'm going to redraw this. Just sketch. You're not going to make a fancy graph here. A sketch, triangle. So we're just going to go the base, the tower, and go across like this, right? Make one of these. I'm basically just redrawing the inside over here. I know that this angle is 100. I know that this angle in here is 27. And I know that the side length here is 325 feet from here to here. This is the observer. right? Base of the tower, top of the tower. Top, base. Okay? So let's talk about the length of the tower. We're going to call this length, and we're going to call this distance. Okay? So this is going to answer A, and if we find this side length, we're going to answer B. Okay? So for A, can we use sine law here? We definitely cannot use cosine law because it doesn't apply to cosine law. So we're going to find this angle up top here as well. Oh my goodness, right? Like how many angles are we finding? This is 180 minus 27 minus 100, right? So this is, you're using the sum of angles in a triangle property here. So you're subtracting the two that you already know from 180. And that gives you 53 degrees up there. And now you have a pair. I will use a highlighter here. This angle goes with this side length, right? So let's do some solving here. I have 5 minutes to get this done. So sine of 53 over 325 is equal to sine of, we're going to find L, so sine of 27 over L. We solve, it's 325 times sine of 27 over sine of 53, right? We cross multiply and we divide. L will be 184.75 feet. I'm going to go from the pair and point up to that. I'm using that pair to solve for L. And then I'm going to do the same thing for B. Now I'm asking for the distance. They're asking for the distance between the observer and the top of the tower. I'm going to use the same pair that I had before, except for now I'm going to use this angle right here, sine of 100, to find side D. So D is going to be multiply and divide. Side D is 400, which makes sense. It should be the longest side, right? That's the distance between the observer and the very top of the tower. Homework to prepare. There is I would strongly suggest you try this already on your own. So we don't, because we won't have too much time to do this chapter test. This is in booklet and handout booklet. So if you can get a head start on that reviewing, I'll probably be able to post the answer key today. I'm pretty sure I have it somewhere. And then you can see if you're on the right track, okay?